Brother's tantrums ruined my birthdays and led to community backlash, teaching my parents a harsh lesson in consequences. But he's destructive with all his stuff. Every time he broke his BMX, I'm the one who had to fix it. Change a flat, new pedals, new tire, new handlebars, new brake line, etc. He's got a stunt BMX that he begged for. And my parents spent hundreds on it. But as much as he loves it, he never fixes it himself or properly takes care of it, just calls me over begging me to fix it. My parents got him the parts and have the tools, but he never bothers to do anything more than pump up a tire. And even then he usually tries to get someone to do it for him. He's also very careless in where he leaves the bike. He left it in a neighbor's driveway and its handlebars got run over by the neighbor's van. He somehow destroyed the pedals and a new pair had to be put on. He broke the rear brake line while having a tantrum too. The tire was understandable though since those wear out. But it wasn't hard to swap it, and I shouldn't have had to come over on a Saturday to do it when my brother is perfectly capable of doing it himself. So damn right I'm not letting him take my mini bike on a joyride. Especially with gas prices being so high these days. The mini bike gets like 60 miles per gallon. So what that it only goes 40 miles per hour. I only have a 5-mile commute anyway. About a month before my brother's 14th birthday, my parents called me begging me to come over and fix the BMX again. Little bro had worn the rear tire down to its threads. I was annoyed, but I came over anyway because they offered to pay me. I swapped the tire, and sat down for a bottled water because it was like 100 degrees that day. My brother watched me work on the bike till I was done. His helmet was on, so I figured he was just waiting to go riding on his bike. But the moment my back was turned I heard my mini bike start up outside and then take off. Little bro took off like a rocket down the street on it before I could get out of the garage. I freaked out, but my parents tried to play it off. Though when I didn't placate them, they said they'd get my mini bike back right away. But for them that was more like just waiting till my brother came back with it. I was annoyed, and I wanted to call the police, but I'm not sure if they'd call it a domestic issue or not. My brother finally came back an hour later. He'd somehow not crashed. But the moment he saw me, he took off again. He drove the bike till it ran out of gas and my parents had to go get him. To say I was furious was an understatement. But my parents basically rolled their eyes, handed me $40 and claimed it wouldn't happen again. I said it better not, or I'd call the cops next time. Not sure if it'd help, but they seemed to take my warning. I had to push my mini bike to the nearest gas station to fill up before I could go home. Before I left I told my parents that if my brother wants a mini bike so bad, then they should get him one. But then they pulled a 180 and said he wasn't ready to have one because it's a big responsibility, and that it was too dangerous because it's practically a motorcycle. I mean really? They just let him steal mine for like 2 hours to go joyriding to God knows where, and they don't want to get him one themselves? Whatever. I'm used to their hypocrisy by now. The last time I went to my parents' house, my brother was massively grounded and in his room for his birthday rampage I mentioned in my first post. But just to be sure, I pulled the spark plug wire off my bike before I entered the house. My brother was glaring at me from his window when I left. I just gave him a goofy wave and drove off. Well, a while ago someone here commented the idea that my parents should sell a bunch of my brother's stuff. So I talked to my parents about how they could probably recoup some of their losses from the birthday rampage by selling a lot of my brother's stuff. I was surprised by how readily they agreed it was a good idea. I mean, it was like a light bulb moment for them. Then over the weekend they had a big garage sale. They sold my brother's bike, his video game systems, everything. I went to help out with the sale and could hear my brother crying in his room. All of the video game systems he had were sold. And I mean there was a lot of them. He had a GameCube, a Wii, a 3DS, a Switch, PS2, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and a ton of games for them all. And they sold all of them. I was pretty tempted to buy something from the sale myself, but I knew if my brother were to be made aware that I had something he used to own, who knows what he might do. So I held back. The bike alone went for $30. They also sold his TV, his RC cars, his drone, and pretty much anything else electronic he owned. They are in the process of selling his gaming PC online now as well. There's a cheap laptop too. But it was mainly used for school, and he was denied access to it for anything else. My parents told me that my brother's room had been stripped of everything but the essentials. While I was visiting during the sale, my brother walked out of his room once, saw me, and then ran back into his room crying loudly. I know fake crying from him when I hear it. And it was as fake as it gets. My parents know this too, and have not fallen for his game. I asked them if he was going to be sent to therapy. And they said they really have no choice but to that. And they fully admitted this was all their fault for enabling him for so long. I could have rubbed it in their faces. But I think the look they saw on my face was enough that they understood. For the past several years they've been in progressively worse and worse denial about their bad parenting. Friends and family have been telling them for a long time now that they went way too far spoiling my brother. And that not only would it come back on them one day, but it'd also mean that my brother may be incapable of functioning as an adult. And if that's the case, he'd expect someone to provide for his every need forever. And I would not become his caretaker when they become too old. My brother hadn't shown much improvement over the next few weeks. He was still being a brat, fake crying, getting into more trouble, and even stole another kid's cell phone at school. He was caught playing on it in his closet, and my parents had to return it to the school to find out who it belonged to. Last week I had an idea and suggested a family intervention. My parents were hesitant when I brought it up, but they reluctantly agreed to it. I'm sure their hesitation was because an intervention would put them on the spot along with my brother. Then on the next possible day, all close family and some friends could gather at my parents' house. We formed a circle of chairs in the living room, initially without my brother in the room. My aunt spoke first. And oh boy, did she let them have it. She'd written an entire speech that we all silently listened to. My parents tried to interject from time to time, but were silenced. When it came to be my turn to speak, I also read a speech I composed. Basically repeating everything I've told on Reddit thus far, and plenty more. My grandparents went next, and it just sort of followed down the line from there. My mother was in tears, and my father just held her. They both apologized to me heavily, and said they were terrible parents. And that they ruined my childhood. I'll never get that back. My aunt loudly stated that it should not have come to this for them to realize their own hypocrisy. And from now on they needed to do better, not only for my sake, but especially for the sake of my brother so he can grow up normal. My brother was brought into the room next, and he was seated away from my parents because my mother would have an urge to coddle him when he was upset. It didn't take long for the family to lay into my brother. He tried fighting us a lot. But when excuses like if only they just let me have my way were about all he could say, we all let him have it about how that's not how the world works. He tried getting help from our mother. But she refused to look at him. He started huffing and acting like he was hyperventilating, then intentionally fell to the floor. It's not the first time he's done this. My aunt just told him to stop milking it and get up. He screamed at her that we were all ruining his life. And he wishes we were all dead. My parents were horrified. My brother refused to get up off the floor and kept breathing heavily to pretend to have some sort of attack. So everyone just left him laying there while they each said their piece about why they were there to him. He screamed at random a few times, but didn't move from where he'd laid down. Eventually everyone started leaving. And my parents had to actually drag my brother back to his room because he refused to get up off the floor. He's not used to people having no sympathy for him. Especially from our parents. This is gonna be a long uphill battle. My aunt has offered to chip in for therapy, and my parents have taken her up on it. Let's hope therapy does my brother some good. Edit. Context. Some have been asking what happened with my brother's birthday rampage. Well, to put it simply, he didn't get a PS5, so he went mental with a chair and destroyed whatever he could with it. Which was finally the breaking point for my parents, and they grounded him severely. If y'all want any more details on what happened, just look at my prior posts. Update 1. It's been a few months since the family intervention, and I wanted to give an update on how things have been going with my brother and parents. The therapy sessions for my brother started off rocky, to say the least. He refused to participate at first, throwing tantrums and storming out of the therapist's office multiple times. My parents were at their wits' end, but the therapist assured them this was normal for someone like my brother who had never faced real consequences before. After about a month, something seemed to click. My brother started actually engaging in the sessions, though he was still resistant. The therapist suggested a reward system for good behavior, but with a twist. My brother had to earn back his privileges and possessions through consistent positive actions and attitude. At home, my parents stuck to their guns, which honestly surprised me. They implemented a strict routine and chore schedule for my brother. At first, he fought against it tooth and nail. There were screaming matches, broken dishes, and even a few attempts to run away, but my parents held firm, and slowly, very slowly, my brother started to adapt. One day, I got a call from my mom. She was in tears, but for once, they were happy tears. My brother had completed all his chores for the week without being asked and had even helped her carry in groceries without expecting a reward. It was a small step, but a significant one. The real test came during a family dinner about 2 months ago. My aunt, the same one who had been so vocal during the intervention, was visiting. As we sat down to eat, my brother actually asked if he could help set the table. The shock on everyone's faces was palpable. My aunt praised him, and for the first time in years, I saw my brother genuinely smile at a compliment instead of just expecting it. Of course, it hasn't all been smooth sailing. There have been setbacks. Last month, my brother had a meltdown when he wasn't allowed to stay up late on a school night. He broke a lamp and yelled that we all hated him. But instead of caving, my parents calmly enforced the consequences they had established with his therapist. To everyone's surprise, my brother actually apologized the next day, something I had never heard him do before. The most recent development happened just last week. My brother's school called my parents for a meeting. Apparently, there had been an incident in class where another student was struggling with a math problem. Instead of making fun of them or causing a disruption like he might have in the past, my brother actually offered to help. The teacher was so impressed by his patience and kindness that she wanted to let my parents know. When my parents told me about this, I could hear the pride in their voices. It was a strange feeling, being proud of my brother. For so long, he had been the source of stress and resentment in our family. But now, seeing him make these changes, I felt a glimmer of hope. Don't get me wrong, we still have a long way to go. My brother still has his moments, and years of bad habits won't disappear overnight. But for the first time in a long time, it feels like we're moving in the right direction as a family. I've even started spending more time at my parents' house, something I never thought I'd do willingly. Last weekend, my brother and I actually played a video game together without any arguments or tantrums. It was nice. As I write this, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. There's still a lot of healing to be done, both for my brother and for our family as a whole. But for the first time in years, it feels like that healing might actually be possible.